Hey all, welcome to ShareTreck. It is the 5th of May 2022 and I'm starting my recording much earlier than usual. This is going to be the way I would be dropping the videos going forward for the next 25 to 30 days. There is some major construction work going on near my house, a lot of noise. All those workers start working somewhere around 8 o'clock to 8:30 in the morning. So I'm going to start much earlier. I don't think we are going to lose out much because even earlier I used to do most of my recordings before the market opened. So nothing much is going to change. It's just that I'm going to be talking about things way earlier, so we may not be as precise about price action. So let's get started with our daily update and look at our genomic stocks, look at basic headlines that could impact the markets today, and also the indices, bitcoins, and gold. Let me start today's headline with the CRISPR headline about gene editing that can reverse brain genetic reprogramming caused by adolescent binge drinking. I'm going to put a link to this article in the description below, so if you're interested, you can go and look at it. Subhash Pandey, the lead author from University of Illinois, says that early adolescent binge drinking does create some kind of reprogramming in the brain, and the effects of that on the health is detrimental. They have been able to study on mice models, gene reprogramming using CRISPR-Cas9, and it has shown some promising results. So you can read the article through the link that I put in the description. So I would like to go on and talk about a few other points. These are not headlines, but these are points that I want to make about the price action that happened yesterday and that's going to happen going forward. The first point I want to make is that yesterday's good earnings report from AMD, not only exceeding expectations in the first quarter, but also projecting great returns not only for the next quarter, but for the entire year. That's really strong performance. But that performance could not influence the market before Fed Powell's speech. So there was a bit of consolidation in the market. But after Powell came and made his speech, and after he confirmed that there is going to be a 50 basis point hike, the market spiked upwards, and that I call as a relief rally. And the relief rally will not be permanent because the immediate relief right now is that the 75 basis point hikes that people feared has been taken out of the equation for the near term. So that's a big relief. The second relief is that the doubt of whether it's going to be a 50 basis point hike or a 75 basis point hike in May has been settled. It's going to be a 50 basis point hike. That's another thing that has given relief to the market. These two things put together recoiled the market back from a compressed position to up. And in most likelihood, we are likely to come back down again today, only to consolidate sideways until we come to the next interest rate report. There's also another thing that can happen in between. That is going to be the consumer price index. If the consumer price index shows the inflation is below 8.2%, we are going to be good. But if it shows we are at 8.2 or above, that indicates that Fed, when it comes back to talk about interest rate hike next time, they are going to be more hawkish. And that's what the market would not like. So keep that in mind. So this is my personal opinion on how the market is going to react. This is going to be the general outline going forward. Russia-Ukraine conflict is still continuing. We have to keep that in mind. So the rally right now is not a bull rally, it's a relief rally. The other issue that we still continue to have is the supply chain issue. It is persisting. Pandemic is potentially in the rear view mirror. As Dr. Fauci said, that we are putting that behind us, it's no longer a pandemic. But there are contrary signs emerging in China. And why China is important is because most of the manufacturing takes place there. So all our supply chain constraint related inflation is linked to the fortunes of what happens to COVID in China. If COVID in China is suppressed and lockdowns are removed, then it reflects positively on the supply chain easing up, and therefore inflation will drop, and therefore Fed will be less hawkish, and so the markets will go up, the volatility will drop, and all those things will happen. But Shanghai is currently preparing to gradually come out of lockdown with cleanup. So that's a positive bullish side because we have the Tesla factory there for sure. There are other manufacturing factories in Shanghai. All of those will start working back again and churning out products, and it will start coming to us. So that's one positive. However, Beijing may have Shanghai style lockdown, and they may lock down apartments where people are found to have COVID. And the same model that was followed in Beijing, in Shanghai, is likely to happen in Beijing. That means any supply that is coming from Beijing is likely to be affected going forward. So net, I think the supply chain is not easing as much as we would like it to. That's going to be weighing down on how soon inflation comes down. But the other good news we have, which I didn't talk about, actually I had forgotten about it in yesterday's update video, is that Fed is also looking at tightening its balance sheet. One of the components that they announced is tightening the mortgage-backed securities section. So anytime that the Fed tightens its balance sheet by reducing its assets, it means that Fed is not funding the market, which means that kind of money which was going to come into the market, which was expected to come into the market, is not coming in anymore. That has got to have a good deal of impact on inflation. And I think that the reduction of MBS purchases is going to lead to a little bit of cooling off in the housing market. It's not going to be severe, but it's going to make less and less people go for mortgage renewals and buying new homes. And as a result of which, the existing homeowners are going to be more cautious about dipping into their home equity line of credit. And many of those purchases that happen, like cars or vacations or whatever big ticket items that people used to do with their home equity line of credit, is going to reduce. And some of that impact could probably be felt by companies like Home Depot and Lowe's, because people will be doing less renovation, and lumber will also cool down a bit. So that kind of a cooling is likely to happen, and that's going to reduce the inflation to a good extent, in my opinion. And again, I'm continuing with my thesis that when the Fed comes around next time to look at inflation, it could be at below 8.2, and the Fed will be less hawkish. And going into the fourth quarter, we are definitely going to see a positive move up, and we'll come out of this downward spiral. That's my expectation. So let's see what happens. Now let's look at the earnings that are coming up today. In the morning, we are going to have Shopify report. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know what Shopify is reporting, but the expectation is that they will slightly exceed street expectations. We also have reports that will come from Wayfair, which I'm interested in. That's consumer discretionary spending. And we are going to have Lucid reporting, Cloudflare reporting, and Vertex. So those are the things that I'm interested in. Lucid, because it will show where the EV market is going. And Vertex, of course, we are interested because it's in a watch list. And it's going to give us an idea of how things are going. With that said, let's go and have a look at the indices. I'm going to start off with the futures. Here is what we have in the futures. Our future shows that the market is looking at a negative going forward. It's down minus 0.69%. That is around 92 basis points. That is pretty decent. So let's look at our indicators. In our indicators, I'm going to start with oil. So oil is marching up. It has gone above the resistance of 107.52. So that's now become a support. And I'm going to mark it as a support going forward. So oil is going up. Oil, when it goes up, it's bad for inflation, and it's bad for Nasdaq, and it's bad for VIX. So that is one negative indicator. We have one bearish indicator. Now let us look at VIX. So when we look at VIX, VIX is slightly up today. It started above where it closed yesterday, and it's gone up marginally, and it has come down again. So it's got an inverted hammer shape, and it's bullish right now. But the MACD is showing a tendency to go towards the signal line, whereas the momentum is pointing upwards. So I'm expecting that we are going to have a slightly elevated volatility going forward today. As I mentioned yesterday, what we had was a relief rally. So there's a good potential that today we are going to have a drop in prices with people trying to take profit. and looking at other risks that are around, and deciding that we are still not yet out of the woods. That's what is likely to happen today. So VIX is potentially likely to go up. Another bearish sign for us. It's already up compared to yesterday, so that's also a bearish sign. So we have two bearish signs right now. Now let us look at our 2-year yield. 2-year yield is going up. So when the yields go up, our growth stocks and risk-on assets are going to go down. So this is the third bearish indicator. Now let us look at our 10-year. 10-year yield is also going up. So that's the fourth bearish indicator. Let us look at US dollar. So US dollar is going up. When US dollar comes down, what happens is money is coming out of US dollar and going into stocks and gold and other places. But when money is coming out, when money is going back into US dollars, the US dollar goes up. So since US dollar is going up, it's another bearish sign for us. Now let us look at S&P 500. So when you look at S&P 500, yesterday's action was that we went all the way up to our resistance. Let me expand this for you. You will see this tiny wick. It hit the resistance at 429.85 and promptly came down and settled somewhere at 429.45. That's where it ended yesterday. So that's what happened with S&P 500. If you look at MACD, it is bearish and moving towards the signal line. Momentum is below average and picking up. So there is a potential for S&P 500 to go up, but it's going to meet a very strong resistance at 429.85, along with the 20-day exponential moving average, which is this orange line that we see here, which is running parallel and merging with the horizontal red line of resistance at 429.85. So it's going to be difficult for S&P 500 to break out of that level. The chances are that it's going to bounce back down after hitting the resistance at 429.85. If we look at Nasdaq, Nasdaq has crossed two of the resistances that we had, so I'm going to mark them as support. And it has got resistance at 13,031.68, as well as the 20-day exponential moving average. Both of them are going to give a resistance. MACD is bearish but moving towards the signal line. Momentum is below average but moving up. So there is a potential for us to hit 13,031 and then come back down when it concerns Nasdaq. In case of Dow Jones, again, we have a resistance out here, which I'm going to mark for you right now. So we have this resistance here. I'll just probably take it up a little bit so that, yeah, we are in between. So this is where we have the resistance, 341.37. So we have hit that resistance and bounced up many times, and we have hit the resistance and bounced down many times. So today we have to see where we go. If I look at the MACD, it is bearish, moving towards the signal line. Momentum is below average and just pointing upwards. So there's a good chance that we are going to test this resistance out here at 341.37, and then we may potentially come down. And we also have the support here from this diagonal green line. So if we did come down, we won't go below 328.96. We'll go back up again from there. So there is going to be basically a profit taking, which brings the market down, and then consolidation sidewards with the attempt to go up when the next CPI announcement comes in. And if we are below 8.2, we are likely to move up a bit. So that's how I think everything is going to move. And with that said, I would like to go and have a look at our Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is continuing its move upwards, but in a choppy manner. And its destination is this diagonal red line, which has been a resistance for the recent while. And it was the bottom of a bull channel that we had before. If I can zoom out, you will see that it was the bottom of the bull channel and providing support earlier. So it's a strong resistance, and it has had multiple touch points, and we are going to be hitting that. Our MACD is turning bullish, but the momentum is pointing downwards. So Bitcoin is a bit weak, and as I said before, Bitcoin is a bit rudderless with a loose correlation with Nasdaq. So if Nasdaq goes down today, the downward trend of Bitcoin will persist. If Nasdaq goes up briefly, Bitcoin may recover briefly. That's my expectation. And when I look at gold, gold is picking up, and it is heading towards a resistance of 1920, and also it has converted the 9-day and the 100-day exponential moving average into supports. So that's a positive for gold. When gold goes up, it's bearish for Nasdaq. So we have got multiple bearish signals today. So the overall tone is bearish. But if we get some good news in the market during the intraday, then there's a good chance that we may go up. Otherwise, any upward movement is going to be temporary, and it will come down just to consolidate, waiting for the CPI numbers. That's my outlook for today. With that, let's go and have a look at our genomic shares. So here we have our genomic shares, and I have taken the liberty to sort everything according to the most profitable one being on the top. The maximum gains were done by Editas, which was also severely beaten up. Bluebird was severely beaten up. It also got maximum gains. Beam got gains. The ones which have been doing well, like Regeneron, Pfizer, IMTX, Novartis, Vertex, they have all not done as well as the others. So the theme basically is that there is a bit of a bottom fishing out here. Stocks that have been severely beaten up are the ones which have been favored in this relief rally. So we can expect that as the relief rally turns around, the bottom beaten up stocks which have turned around are likely to lose faster than the ones that didn't. So we are going to look at a reverse of what's happening today, what happened yesterday when we go in for the review today. And I'm just going to look at some of these shares which have given earnings. Editas has given earnings, and they have exceeded the EPS estimate by 4 cents, that is 5.34%, and they've also exceeded the earnings by 75.76%. So that's going to be a very big positive for Editas. That's also another reason why it's a max gainer. I will look at Editas and put out a separate video. Let's go on to look at Bluebird. Bluebird had earnings out on 4th of May, but it's not updated here. But I'll check it out, and I'll come back with a separate video to talk about it. Beam is going to have its earnings on the 17th of May. I'll put out a video for that also. Beam is looking like it's going to turn bullish. It's already got a gain of 7.89 yesterday. So potentially that's what it is showing here. Let's go to the 1-day chart and look at where we are. So we don't have any updates for today, and it's rather early in the day, so I don't have any major signs to point towards. I'm going back to the 1-year view. Let us look at Intelia. It has reported on the 5th of May. I don't have any earnings report out here, so which means that we'll probably see the reports coming in the evening. I'll check that up, and I'll come out with a video separately for that. Caribou Biosciences, there is no new news. And PSCB, it has had earnings, and EPS came below expectation at 15.61% below. Revenue surprise is at 0.79% above expectation, so it's a mixed bag, and we'll have to see what happens with PSCB today. And when we look at the pre-market bid and ask, pre-market bid is at 7.05 and ask it is at 7.45, and we'll have to see what happens. I would suspect that PSCB is likely to go down because of the profitability. But when you look at the revenue, that indicates that more sales have taken place. And if you look at the business model for PSCB, the more machines they sell, the more they are increasing their captive market for their services. So I think the revenue gain is going to be much of a focus for the market than the EPS drop. So PSCB should have a positive day today, potentially slightly positive to flat, but I don't think it's going to go negative. So we'll see what happens. Let's look at CRISPR Therapeutics. It is yet to report. I'm going to come up with a video on that shortly. ARCG is up 4.35%. I don't know what's going to happen today, but the relief rally is going to turn around. That much I can say for sure. So expect ARCG to give up some gain. For that matter, most of the stocks here are likely to give up some gains because yesterday was a super high move after midday. Allogene is up 4.31%. Looks good to me right now. Teladoc is up. It's also likely to find a bit of a reversal today after the relief rally. Illumina had its results coming up today. So we don't have any updates out here. I'll check it out and put it in a separate video. DNA is up 2.17%. Again, I'm thinking that it's going to give up the gains from the relief rally. Likewise for Verve, likewise for DNA, and for Vertex as well. For Vertex, we have a support line out here, which kind of limits how much it can fall. Novartis is also likely to bounce back from the support line at 87.54. And IMTX, Pfizer, it has got the earnings in place, and on 3rd of May it reported it's exceeded expectations, so it's positive. And if we look at this line out here, I think it's going to get resistance from 49.83, and we have got a MACD which is trying to turn bullish, but it's right now bearish, and it's got a momentum which is below average. And after yesterday's relief rally, yesterday Pfizer did not gain much, so I'm thinking that there's a good chance that we may break above 49.66 and settle somewhere in that vicinity. It's not going to be a big gain, but all the same, there's going to be a bit of reward for positive performance. Regeneron is up 0.06%, and it has reported a gain both on EPS as well as revenue. So there should be positive movement for Regeneron. And I think we are going to stay above the support of the 100-day exponential moving average, and we may probably try to inch towards the 9-day exponential moving average, which is at 671.89. If I look at the pre-market bid and ask, the ask is at 689.80, and the bid is at 621.16. Let us see where the market takes us. With that, I would like to bring us to the conclusion of this session. Just to summarize, yesterday was a relief rally. Now the market is going to look forward to what happens with the CPI index. If we have a inflation of less than 8.2%, that means Fed, when it comes to talk about interest rate next time, is going to be less hawkish, and as a result, the market is likely to move slightly upwards. Till then, it's going to be on a consolidation phase. Consolidation means moving up and then coming down, moving up and coming down, and staying range bound. That's what is likely to happen. And most of the stocks will be range bound between their support and resistance. The resistance could be the 9-day exponential moving average, or 20-day, or the horizontal line, and likewise for support. So that's what we are expecting going forward. So be careful out there, and I'll come back to you with another video with some earnings. And this is the pattern we are going to follow for the next 25 days or so, until the public construction goes off. And once it is done, then I can start recording later, and we'll be much more closer to market open, and our estimates are going to be much more reliable than before. It's not like we always predict what's going to happen in the market, and that happens. This is the probability science. Nobody in entire internet can predict what's going to happen next. It's all a probability game. We'll be much better in our probability when we start analyzing that closer to market open or at market open. We'll try to do that a month down the line. Thanks, and have a great day, and thanks to all our subscribers for supporting us. We have touched 450 subscribers right now. A big thanks to all the new subscribers as well as existing subscribers that made this happen. Please press a like there so more people in YouTube can see this video and discover our channel and potentially become subscribers. And if you're not a subscriber, why not? Please become a subscriber for Everything CRISPR and stocks. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye for now.